And this morning on the show, we'll be looking at the crisis rocking the major opposition party in the country, which is the PDP. Time it was in this country when the PDP boasted that it was going to govern for 60 years. But unfortunately, after about 16 years, the party was voted out and, of course, replaced by the ruling party as we have it today, which is the APC. There are so many crises rocking the PDP. Of course, one angle is saying that the acting chairman should go, the wiki factor is there, and of course, in general, some people are already scheming ahead of 2027 elections, all in a bid for them to emerge as the presidential candidate of the PDP. We all know that a viable opposition is one of the major elements of a thriving democracy like we have in Nigeria. But as we speak, the PDP is divided, his house is not in order, and people are beginning to wonder that how will the PDP put the ruling party, which is the APC, on its toes and, of course, serve as the major opposition in the country. We have with us this morning Adewale Adeoye, a journalist and a political affairs analyst, and he will be giving us his own perspective as regards the crisis rocking the PDP. It's a pleasure to have you this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, so from your own observation over the past few months, the crisis rocking the major opposition party in the country, which is the PDP, what exactly do you think are the factors responsible for this crisis rocking the party?
I think there are a lot of factors responsible for the crisis in the PDP. There are historical factors, there are individual differences, there are also differences informed by strategy. And also there's also the problem of the absence of national cohesion in terms of having a moral pathfinder that can be a role model for the party, a moral authority that could say yes and everybody will listen. What we have in PDP now is more or less like an atomic society in perpetual conflict with itself. And I don't see the PDP going to into any election for that matter, you know, and beating its chest that it will come out victorious. The last election that we had in Edo State, what happened was a reflection of the lack of cohesion in PDP. And I think for many of us, it shouldn't be a surprise, because if you look at the history of the party itself, you know, parties are sustained over years, centuries, because of ideology, because of what they stand for, because of principles. But when parties are built on cosmetic principles, not really on fundamental issues, then to sustain such a political party will be very difficult. Look at the Democratic Party in the US, the Republican Party. When you are talking about Republicans, you know what they stand for in terms of foreign relations, in terms of ownership of guns, in terms of you know, gender equity, in terms of foreign relations. And these policies have been there for years. The same thing with Labour Party in UK. When you are talking about workers' interests, you are talking about welfare, you are talking about privatization, you know, people are clear about what these two parties stand for. But in Nigeria, you know, we have political parties just established that makes it very difficult for one to see fundamental differences between such political parties. So when parties are not driven by ideology, you know, it will not be surprised to people to see that, you know, anybody can come in and go, and at the end of the day, you begin to see internal contradictions in that party. I think the PDP for now is actually only interested in elections, and that's why you see after each election, the PDP goes to sleep.
Before
they
we
only come back, you know.
Before we talk about elections, there are some elements that you identified. You said historical and, of course, individual. Let's talk about that historical.
Yeah. If you look at the PDP, you know, when it started in 1998, there were a lot of people that were involved, including even Shibola Ige, you know, who are progressive elements. Some people left the SD, you know, I mean, offshoots of the SDP, progressive people. But the ideas, the ground norm they were trying to set up was not acceptable to a lot of people there. So they had to leave to establish the AD. And years after, if you look at even the emergence of former President Olusegun Obasanjo in 1998 as a candidate of the party, and which, I mean, in 1999 now won the election, you realize that a lot of interest came into the PDP, and mainly, people that are, military elements, who wanted to see the party as a party that will represent the hegemony, to defend the military class. And that's why you see a lot of generals, after we came from democracy to military, a lot of them were found in a PDP because they felt this party should be the one to be used to defend their own interest. And they came up with a candidate which, in one way or the other, became the president of the country. So if you look at that historical background, it wasn't as if PDP was founded on the need to restructure Nigeria, or want to free education, we want to, we are talking about privatization and all that. There were no clear ideologies about what the party stood for. And that's why, over the years, it managed to rule for 16 years, through different arm twisting tactics. But in 2015, the party had to give way. And I think it will take a very long time for the party to be able to re-energize itself and to become a party that has to be reckoned with as we speak. For instance, when you are talking about even challenging the current government, the PDP is busy fighting itself.
They are not together.
They are not. They are not cohesive. And when you are talking about even national leadership, who is the leader of the PDP at the national level? Former President Olusegun Obasanjo tore his membership card. President Jonathan came. The last election, he was being touted as a presidential candidate in APC. Atiku is neither here nor there. He was formerly in APC, then moved back to PDP again. Obi was in PDP. He left to form Labour Party. So who is actually the role model that can say, the rallying point? That one is absent. So, and I think it's going to continue to affect the fortunes of the party.
Okay, like I said during my intro, there are so many factors attached to these crises rocking the PDP. Some are alleging that Wike is actually planted in the PDP to destroy the party by the APC. And of course, the Fayoshe factor is there as well. And the governors are also playing some kind of roles in the crisis rocking the PDP. Let's talk about the Wike factor now. Do you actually believe that insinuation that Wike rather is the one planted in that party to destroy the party? And Wike, time and time again, had said it that when everybody left that party, he was the only one with the party using his money to ensure that the party did not scatter.
I don't believe Wike was planted in APC. Prior to the election, in 2023, Wike was a presidential candidate. And in fact, I think he scored, Atiku scored 371, he scored 237. He nearly won the presidential ticket.
Yeah.
And then after that election, you could discover that PDP became factionalized. There were the five PDP G5 governors, the G5, that were not supporting, the outcome of the presidential election. So we have to look at the genesis of that crisis before we can be talking about whether it was planted or not. So the PDP had its own internal crisis, and I think that was what led to the emergence of the G5, of which Wike was one of them. And during the presidential election, the PDP had become so factionalized that they could not resolve the crisis among themselves. Why did Obi leave the PDP? It was because of that crisis that they had to go and establish the Labour Party. So if people are now saying that it was planted in a PDP, I don't think that is correct. And I also think I'm aware that Wike has said that before he decided to take that appointment with APC, that he consulted the party leadership, at least a faction of the party, and they gave him the go-ahead. And this is not the first time we are seeing people in opposition joining the mainstream party. In the years past, when President Obasanjo was the president of this country, Shibolagi was, he was an AD, and then he worked for Colonel Adebayo was a minister. He also worked for, he worked for the PDP at that time as a minister. So it's not the first time we're having this kind of thing. I think what is happening is that because of the crisis in Rivers State, people are looking for all sorts of blackmail, building all sort of blackmail mechanisms to
smear the
image of each other. And I think this is just part of that game. I don't think it is to be correct, to say that Wike was planted in APC. People are forming opinions not based on facts, and it's better to have your opinion based on facts. There are no facts to buttress that point,
But what do you think the PDP can do as regards this Wike issue? Because whether we like it or not, Wike is a major factor in that party.
Well, I think if you look at what happened...
And when you look at the PDP Governors Forums, PDP Governors Forum, they are not also helping this situation.
Well, in politics, we should learn the game of give and take. If you want a situation where it's winners take all, you are never going to have peace in that party. I think if the PDP really wants to deal with this crisis, they have to admit the mistake they made, in the past, and then not to be sweeping those things under the carpet as if it never happened. You've made some mistake. You need to sit down and admit. And if you have offended some people, you need to be magnanimous enough to appeal to them, to apologize to them. But this idea of saying that, look, we can do without you, I don't think that is always good in politics, because everyone in politics is important, no matter no matter how strong or how weak you are. I've seen a situation where the PDP just feels that, look, a few people can manage the party without the principle of inclusiveness. If you look at all the states, almost every state, there's even the Ekiti state crisis, Fayose had to come out to say that, look, everybody wants to see him or herself as leader in Ekiti state. And if they continue this way, you could see that Oyebanji will win the election.
Just yesterday, the party chairman of the PDP chairman in the state issued a statement that Fayose will be suspended because he's romancing the opposition party, which is the APC.
Yeah.
Of course, he endorsed the candidacy of Oyebanji for second time in office. But before you respond to that question, Adebimpe over there, she has a question for you. Yeah.
The 2023 elections, when the PDP had their primaries, and then the outcome was Atiku emerging as the presidential candidate, and then this formed the G5 governors to now not work for Atiku. Was there an agreement within the PDP for them to now not want to work or disagree with this appointment or this election of Atiku at that time?
I think from my own perspective, I think it was the process, the method, that led to the emergence of Atiku that created a lot of crisis in the party, because there was the momentum that, we wanted power shift to southern Nigeria. And we are thinking that the two parties at least will agree on that consensus. And I think within the PDP, that was a very strong opinion, among the party leadership, a section of the party. But because of the network that Atiku had already built over the years, right from the time of PDM, he was able to galvanize his own network to ensure that he emerged as a candidate. And then things were made worse when Tambuwa, his own group, decided to step down for Atiku. So that gave, a semblance of ethnic coloring into the whole process. And people from the south felt, look, and the middle belt, we can't accept this, that it is time for power to shift. After we have had President Buhari for 8 years, it's just normal that this power should go to the south. Because that was the campaign during the time of Jonathan. And it's just spent only 6 years that, look, power should go to the north. And a lot of people agreed, across political party spectrum, that, okay, let's give it to him. And he spent 8 years. That common sense dictates that this power should go back to the south. So I think that was a major issue that led to that conflict.
I wanted you to clarify that. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so apart from the Wike factor now, do you think the PDP Governors Forum, are they doing the needful to resolve this crisis? Remember, they met last week because of the crisis surrounding the replacement of the chairman, Damagu. And are they really playing the role that they should play in resolving this crisis?
Well, the thing is that before any PDP governor can stand up to resolve any crisis at the national level, the leader must be sure that even in his own enclave, there is no internal crisis. But if you are having crisis within your party, even in your own state, for instance, let's take the governor of Rivers State, for instance. How can he be, now talking about resolving crisis at the national level when his own state is burning?
He's not the one who's even in charge of PDP.
He's not even in charge. He's not even the one in charge of the party. So the PDP in most of the states where the PDP is in power, they have internal problems. So not to talk of dealing with the problem at the national level. But I think the NEC, which is supposed to meet on October 24, right. I hope they should realize the responsibility placed on them by history. That if the NEC cannot resolve these problems, then I doubt whoever who will be able to resolve the problem. So I think the party is looking up to NEC, and also the PDP governance will play a very significant role in ensuring that what comes out of what the resolution will be binding. But I think as for now, I'm seeing the PDP facing greater problems, because people have taken extreme positions, and when you have that kind of situation, there's no lowest common factor. It's going to be a very big problem to resolve. More so that we are dealing with the APC that appears to understand how to feast, from this misfortune. Yeah. Either directly or indirectly. It is in the favor of the party in power that the opposition is not organized so that they can be trampled upon in the next election.
Okay, for those members who are not happy with some of the decisions of the leadership of the party, the likes of Wike, Fayose, and of course the Segun Shomi factor is also there. What do you think the elders of the party can do to resolve this crisis and bring them back into the party? Because whether we like it or not, Fayose is also a factor. Yeah.
I think one major problem that I think faces the PDP is what happens in 2027. There are some people that have made up their mind that, look, primary or no primary, this should be our candidate for 2027. And once you have a situation where there are preconceived decisions or decisions that are presumed to be preconceived, then it will be very difficult to manage that crisis. But I think it will have been better for PDP now to put the issue of 2027 aside and talk about how to build the party, how to resolve the crisis in the party, and how to bring people that have left, bring them together. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo is there. How many times have the PDP leadership considered it necessary to say, okay, we are coming to pay you a visit, or even visiting former President Jonathan to say, okay, what are the problems? Let us sit down and resolve this problem. And I think if you're having any genuine intention to resolve the crisis in PDP, you need to learn from the experiences of the founding fathers. And in this case, you cannot wish away somebody like former President Olusegun Obasanjo and then President Jonathan. You need to bring those people together, the founding fathers. You can learn, you can tap from their fountain of knowledge so that you can see how...
Well, Atiku is also an elder in the party.
He's an elder in the party. But he has...
But is he playing that role well?
I don't think he's playing that role very well, because Atiku is expected to be a statesman, but he's fighting too many battles, from different fronts. Fighting the APC, fighting even in his own state, So it's a very complex problem for the PDP. And if they are not careful, the party may split further. And then I see a situation where a faction may either go and stand on his own, assume a life of his own, or even join the ruling party, the APC.
Okay, so how do you think they can resolve this crisis? Of course, NEC is going to meet on the 24th of this month. This crisis of chairmanship of the party, because some people are hell-bent in ensuring that Ambassador Ilia Damagu is removed. Yeah.
For me, I think it will be better for the PDP to start on a new slate.
With a new chairmanship.
A new chairmanship, But it's going to be a very difficult thing because the current chairman is there as a pawn in the political game of some powerful interest in the party. They feel we need this man to be able to achieve our aim. So I think it will be better for all of them to give way and then look for a consensus candidate that will be acceptable to all, so that such a candidate can just emerge as a neutral person, and then you can start on a new note. But if the old horses are still the ones that are insisting on taking over the mantle of leadership at the national level, there is no way there's going to be peace.
The statement here credited to a member of the PDP, saying that the PDP governors have agreed to settle for a consensus national chairman with Gabriel Suzwam and Emmanuel Agbo as top contenders.
Well, I think if that happens, I hope there's not going to be any counter statement. And I hope that this decision was taken after wide consultation, not just issuing a press statement and then. And I hope that when we are talking about consultation, we're also taking the interest of people like Wike, putting his interest into proper perspective. So if that is done, and they're able to get people like Sharaki, former Senate president, if they're able to get the power brokers in the party to agree on a new slate, I think that would be a very good thing, for the party. After resolving the problem at the national level, they can now move to the state level to begin to see how they can deal with the challenges that they have.
Okay, so this crisis now, what does it portend for the party as we look ahead of the November 16 governorship election in Ondo State?
Yeah, we are going to see a situation where the Ondo State governor is only going to be supported by a faction of the PDP. And it means that the PDP is not going there, in whole. It's not going there as a formidable organization, And that's already happening. We have seen it clearly. And I think there is no way that will not affect the prospect of PDP winning the election in Ondo State. And we can actually see it, what is going on, the build up to the election. You can see that, we are not seeing the support that is, expected from the national leadership. Going to to Ondo State, joining the campaign train, speaking on the podium, talking to the people, even staying there for days and months. That is not happening. So there's no way, even in terms of funding, if this kind of thing happens, I know that some of them will deny the state governor the kind of funding that he's supposed to have. So if they are not able to resolve the party at the crisis at the national level, it will spill over to affect the fortunes of the parties at the state level.
Okay. Adam, you have a question?
Earlier that when they solve the crisis, when they solve their crisis in the national level, they can now move to the state. I want to comment about Lagos State, where PDP is almost non-existent, and the so-called leaders like Bode George are now almost, can we call them APC now? And Doyo Kupe, what is the future of PDP here in Lagos State?
I think the PDP Lagos State, to me, I'm sorry to say, it's more or less like a meal ticket for a few people. When election is coming, you will rise up looking for funds, looking for, well, after election, PDP Lagos State goes down, to the, go back to its cocoon. So, as we see in Lagos State, I think there is irrespective of political party, there is a dominant trend since 1999
in the state. And
that trend, I don't think that trend for a very long time can be uprooted, from the space, because the most powerful elements in PDP, people like Shibode George, people like a very gentleman, very fantastic human being, Jimmy Agbaje, people like Obani Koro. By the time you are going to count about 10 big names in PDP, you find out that about 70% of them are already with
APC.
And in terms of structure, in terms of mobilization, in terms of organization, go to the PDP secretariat. You think you are, you are in a place where there is has been deserted, where in the war front that has been deserted for so long. Nothing is going on there. Go to the APC secretariat and then compare, So when this is 16 months after the last election, nothing has been done. Even to issue statement to come up with constructive criticism of the government. They cannot do it. They cannot do it. They can't do it. So, we almost conclude that there's no PDP in Lagos State. But 6 months to the election, because you have to go and talk to some other PDP governors. We need money. Then they come up again.
But one of them,
so that kind of
spokesperson of the
party cannot actually be talking.
The spokesperson of the party is active. At least is a member of the Onjeko committee set up by the Lagos State government. Yeah. Is representing the PDP there.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, my question is this: fine, the PDP is in crisis. And of course, it's not as if everything is rosy or perfect with the ruling party as well. Yeah. So what are the implications of not having a viable opposition in a democratic setting? Because the PDP, which ought to be the major opposition, is not together.
Having a viable opposition in any political setting is very critical to sustainable development. But it is not the government in power that will create that opposition. When a party has lost power, it is expected of that party to organize itself into a constructive opposition. When government, look at when APC was in opposition.
Yeah.
When you are talking about first subsidy, the second day at that time it was Lai Mohammed.
Yes.
You will come up with figures. By the time you read the statement as a journalist, you will be impressed. Based on figures, based on facts, to counter the government. So the opposition at that time was coming with superior argument, with logic. And that when you read their position, you know that, we have had a lot of programs. Look at the rallies by the Labour Party. The PDP could not even take the opportunity to even join them, not to even talk of coming up with a statement to engage the government. So I think intellectually the PDP appears to be a desert, and I think it needs to find an oasis where it can re-energize itself. Because who is that figure that can say, okay, this person stands up, stands out in the PDP? There is none. So we just need to tell ourselves the truth. But that's why in the absence of that political opposition, you find a situation where Labour is taking that vacuum. You find a situation where bad government, they are organizing themselves, because the party in the opposition actually is supposed to provide leadership as opposition, movement, to galvanize the people and organize them. But you find a party that cannot even find its bearing. You don't even know who is the director of publicity. You don't even know who is in the state or whether at the national level.
So then how do you play your role as an opposition?
So how do you play your role as an opposition? So the PDP is just there, probably looking for the next election to come up again. And I think the party is at its wit's end. Is almost, it may be extinct if time is not taken. You spoke about the APC. The APC had a lot of problems, just like PDP. But ability to manage internal crisis is key to sustaining your party as a formidable organization. In this state, we had the former governor, Ambode. One would have imagined that, by now you should be fighting the federal government. No. There is a mechanism that will be able to address those grievances. Every party has one problem or the other. Even when the current president, after 2015, I can tell you that it was isolated.
It was, yeah.
For 8 years. But he could have come out to come and say, okay, I want to fight, I want to confront the enemy. Politics is an extension of war. And when you are fighting war, there's a moment for retreat. There's a moment to advance. There is a moment that you don't even fight at all, even though you are being punched. If the current president come out at the wrong time to challenge his own party, there have been a lot of consequences. He probably would not have emerged as the president of this country. But he was able to endure resilience, understand the wisdom to manage the emerging conflict at that time, even though it was isolated. Even during the primaries, not everything was done, but it was managed in a very tactical manner. And at the end of the day, they came out, and then they were able to go to the election as one party. So we must learn to understand that there will be crisis. Even the tongue and the tongue and the mouth usually fight. But once there's crisis, the ability to resolve that crisis is what we call political leadership, statesmanship, which is lacking in PDP as we speak today.
Okay, let me just ask this final question before we allow you go this morning. What role can party discipline play in resolving all this crisis?
It is the critical thing, it's the most important thing, party discipline. And when we are talking about party discipline, it means that there must be rule of law. You are not saying that because this person is the one that is funding the party, when he does something wrong, then we should allow him to go. It means that the discipline that applies to me as an ordinary member of the party also applies to the chairman of the party. In terms of everything that we are doing, it also means consultation before major decisions are taken. When you want to take a decision in a party, you have to consult the people, you have to consult the party leaders, you have to seek their opinion. And it also means that people must not impose their ideas. They must not substitute their consciousness for the consciousness of the party, of the members of the party. To say, okay, this is what I want, then that's what the party wants. So consultation, inclusion, constructive engagement, I think those are the things that formed the hallmark of discipline in a party. And that's why you see all over the world, some parties have spent almost 150 years. In India, over 50 years, 60 years, they are still there. Because there's internal mechanism to deal with crisis, to deal with management of any issue that may arise. And it's very difficult for people to just move from that party to another because they know that once there's a problem, there's a mechanism to resolve it. People can be expelled, people can be suspended, people can be, a lot of things can happen just to ensure that we keep this party, we sanitize this party and make it relevant to the dynamics of politics.
Okay, that's the best way to end the conversation this morning on the internal crisis rocking the major opposition party in the country, which is the PDP, and so many factors have been attached to this crisis rocking the party. The Wike factor is there, Fayoshe, and of course, according to Adeoye, some people are already scheming for the year 2027 instead of facing the crisis rocking the party and putting the house in order so that the PDP can actually play its role rather as the major opposition party in the country. We thank you very much, Adewale Adeoye, journalist and political affairs analyst, for sharing your thought with us on the PDP crisis this morning on The Conversation.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a very quick break on the program. When we come back, Adebimpe and Joy will be taking you through what is happening in Lagos today. And of course, the show will continue after this break.